Yeah, welcome to our lecture. Earlier, we had discussed about the use of hand aspirator and the use of collecting nets, like the aerial nets, the sweep nets and aquatic nets for the collection of insects and arachnids. Then we had also discussed about the use of beating sheets for the collection of insects and arachnids, as well as the use of knockdown sprays for the collection of insects and arachnids. So I want to continue with other collection methods, other methods that are used for the collection of insects and arachnids. The next method we want to talk about is the use of extractors to collect insects and arachnids. The use of extractors. The extractors are also called leaf litter and humus extraction devices. Now, many of the insects and arachnids that are being studied are sometimes found in leaf litters. They are not found on grasses that are already alive. They are found in around dead leaves, in the bottom of dead leaves. Some of them are found in humus, mixed with the soil, dead organic matter mixed with the soil. Some of them are found in decomposing wood. Some are found in detritus. Some are found in nest litter of small mammals and birds. And all of these insects need to be studied. And to collect such insects, we use what we call the extractors. Examples of such insects include the fish moths, the brittle tails, the book flies, the schizomida, the pseudoscorpions, the spiders, mites, winglets, parasitic wasps, the cockroaches, and many others. Now, these insects and arachnids are generally photophobic. That is, they are usually not attracted to light. They run away from light. They hide from light. So because they hide from light, the principle is to use light to chase them into a container. The principle of extractors is basically to use light to chase these photophobic organisms into a container to preserve them. How is it done? Basically, to use an extractor, you would need to first collect the samples, the refuges of these insects and arachnids. They may be found in leaf litter, in humus, in dead woods, and other places. So to collect them, you need to basically collect this leaf litter. Now, there are two types of extractors. We have the BERLESE or the TULLGREN funnel and the Magzatsky Winkler extractor. Like I said before, you first need to collect this, the leaf litter or whatever place these insects or arachnids may be found. You collect such insects and arachnids, and then you now place them in the extractor. For instance, if you want to use the BERLESE funnel. Now, the BERLESE funnel is an effective way of sampling insects and arachnids. It is very effective for the collection of insects and arachnids. To do that, you collect a sample of humus or leaf litter. And this sample of humus, when I say humus, that's soil that is mixed with organic matter. It could be dead leaves or leaf litter, the leaves that are under a tree, okay, that are falling from a tree. You collect them and place them on a gauze tray in a funnel. The gauze tray is placed on the funnel, and this leaf litter are then placed on this gauze tray. And then a light bulb is positioned above the sample. A light bulb is positioned above the sample, and a bottle of alcohol is then placed below. Now, when you do that, the bulb produces heat, and the light from the bulb drives these specimens down into the funnel and until they get into that container that has the alcohol. They fall into that container that have the alcohol. Now, this is an improvised BERLESE funnel that I did. Okay, I did it personally. I produced it personally. Okay. Now, some of these things, like I said, even the aspirator you saw earlier, I produced it. The aspirator can be produced in the home. It can be homemade. Now, this is a BERLESE funnel that I produced with a bulb, a light bulb. Then you have a funnel. Okay, the light bulb can also have a funnel that directs the light to the other funnel that is underneath. Okay, you can improvise. You saw what I used there to produce it. Then you have the collecting container. You then have the collecting container underneath. It could have alcohol in it to preserve the insect as they fall into the container. Or it could be a bottle that's placed underneath. Now, when this light is put on, the heat of the light chases the insects that are in this funnel. You see, here is a gauze. I used improvised gauze to prevent the leaf litter and its contents from falling into through the funnel. But when the light bulb was put on, insects, since such insects are photophobic, they run down. They begin to look for a way to hide. And as they are running down, they, unknown to them, they just mistakenly fall into this container. So that's one other technique for collecting such insects and arachnids that are photophobic. Then the Maczowski-Winkler selector is also another extractor. It is used just like the BERLESE funnel, but instead of having an electric bulb, it contains a canvas that you put samples into. Okay, and this one is used in the field, in the forest, where you don't have access to light, where you don't have access to electricity. Use it in the forest. And the specimen are placed in this canvas. Okay, they are placed here. And the leaf litter, you collect the leaf litter, place it in this gauze. And then because of the light, as the insects move, they mistakenly fall into this funnel and down into the bottle that contains the alcohol, as you can see in this picture. Okay, so that's how the Maczowski-Winkler selector is used. It's also an extractor. We want to look at another method of collection of insects, and that is the use of baits and refuges. The use of baits and refuges. To collect insects, you can collect some insects usually are attracted to baits, like fermenting fruits, dead mango fruits, dead orange fruits, dead banana fruits, and decomposing mango fruits, decomposing orange fruits, decomposing banana fruits. Those fruits can be used as baits, and some of them serve as refuges. Some insects and arachnids hide in these fruits. Then cow dung or even dead animals are places where such insects can be found, and such can be used to collect insects. So such bait, like decomposing fruits, spoiled fruits like mango fruits or pineapple fruits, can be used as attractants to lure specimens into a trap. to an area where they can be collected. So that's one method that is used to collect insects and arachnids by use of baits and refuges. One other method that is used to collect insects and arachnids is the use of sieves. The use of sieves. Insects can live in ground litter, leaf mold, rotten wood, mammal and bird nests, fungi, shore debris, shore detritus, lichens, mosses, and so many other places. Now, to collect such insects, these areas where these insects are found, these materials where these insects can be found, can be collected and put in sieves. Sieves, and then you sieve them, just as you sieve granite or you sieve your bitter leaves or any other thing. Your bitter leaf sieve, fortunately, your bitter leaf sieve can also be used for this purpose. Various types of sieves that are available, not the ones that have very big mesh sizes. Sieves that have small mesh sizes can be used to sieve, to collect small insects. So usually to use the shifter or the sieve, you place the material to be sifted into the container and shake it gently over a white pan or place a piece of white cloth. You shake it. You shake it over a white pan or a piece of white cloth or a piece of white cloth. As the insects and arachnids, maybe mites, fall into the cloth, they can be collected with forceps and collected with a brush or even the aspirator. So when they fall into the white cloth, you can now collect them with a forceps, with the aid of a brush, or with the aid of an aspirator. So like I said earlier, various types of sieves can be used. The sieve you use to sieve your bitter leaves can be used, or any other sieve can be used, provided it has small mesh sizes or mesh sizes that are good enough for this purpose. Another method for the collection of insects, like I've told you earlier, we have so many methods for the collection of insects and arachnids. The next method now that we're talking about is the use of traps. Several types of traps are used to collect insects and arachnids, and they include the pitfall traps, they include light traps, they include yellow pan traps, they include sticky traps, they include paper band traps, they include butterfly traps, pheromone traps. We also use suction traps, window pane traps, and the BERLESE traps. So we want to look at the pitfall traps. Pitfall traps, just as the name implies, pitfall. Now in this method, usually this method is used to collect ground-moving insects and arachnids, insects that are flightless, that cannot fly, that move in the soil, that crawl in the soil, like the beetles, the cockroaches, the crickets, the spiders, the solifigids, the pseudoscorpions, the harvestmen, the mites, and many other insects and arachnids that crawl on the surface of the soil. These ones can be trapped with the use of the pitfall traps. Pitfall traps are used to collect these insects and arachnids. Now, the pitfall trap consists of containers such as small plastic buckets. You can also improvise by using plant pots, glass jars, gem tins, and many others that are buried in the soil. And when you bury them in the soil, the surface of the buckets or the containers, the rim of the container should be in the same level with the soil, should be in the same level with the soil. And unsuspecting insects fall into these containers. And when they fall into these containers, they find it difficult to get out. They are unable to get out of the container. Sometimes a killing agent or a preservative is also used. Preservatives such as ethylene glycol can also be placed in these traps. And it is expected that these traps are inspected daily. It's expected that you inspect these traps, the traps, and empty them daily. Now, this was a pitfall trap we did when we went for an environmental impact assessment. The pitfall trap, to set the pitfall trap, first you need to dig the floor, the soil with a shovel. You dig the soil with a shovel. You dig it round, depending on the shape of the container. The hole should be the same, should be able to contain the container you want to use. Now, after digging the hole, you now place the bucket into the hole. You now place the bucket into the hole. And the level of the bucket should be the same level with the soil. And you, after digging it, you now level it up, cover up the sides of the bucket, and ensure that the bucket is, the rim of the bucket is at the same level with the soil. Now, when you, after doing that, you can now leave the trap and inspect it later. In some cases, baits are also introduced into the bucket to attract insects. You can put a rotten mango fruit. You can introduce a rotten banana fruit. You can introduce a rotten pineapple fruit or other baits, or even a dead animal, but usually fruits are used to attract the insects into the buckets. Now, this to also increase the efficiency, the efficiency of this trap, apart from the use of baits, you can also use woods to cause barricades or barriers. Woods can also be used. Like when we went for a biodiversity study, though the pitfall traps we set were used to collect mammals, we used bigger buckets, and we also used woods to set boundaries. And we implanted, or we dug and placed buckets in between the woods, so that when the insects walk around that area and they get to the woods and they can't move beyond the woods, they'll now begin to look for where to escape. And as they are looking for where to escape, they mistakenly fall into the bucket. So baits can be used to do that. Like I've explained before, that attractive baits can be used, can be placed in the bottom of the bucket to attract these insects and arachnids. It will include spoiled fruits, vegetables, excrement, or even meat. These can be used to attract the insects and the arachnids. And these insects and the arachnids that are falling into this bucket should be removed each morning. You remove them each morning. They are expected to be removed each morning. The pitfall traps are also used for other purposes. They are used for other purposes. They are also used in hepatological studies. That is, they are also used, apart from using them to collect insects and arachnids, they are also used to collect amphibians and reptiles. They are also used to collect amphibians and reptiles. No, we are talking about collection of insects, but it should be known that pitfall traps are also used in hepatology to collect insects, and herpetology is the study of amphibians and reptiles. The pitfall traps are also used for that purpose. So when you set a pitfall trap, don't expect that you will see only insects and arachnids. You'll see so many other things. So you should be careful when you're inspecting the traps. You could even see a snake inside. You can see a snake inside a pitfall trap. You can even see a chameleon or a monitor lizard or even crocodile inside the pitfall trap. Sometimes you see tortoise inside the pitfall traps. So you, apart from using the pitfall trap to collect insects, they are also used to collect amphibians and reptiles. And even mammals, like rats, the rodents, the rats, can also fall into the pitfall trap. And other very small mammals can be collected with the aid of the pitfall traps. Other crawling arthropods can also be collected with the aid of the pitfall traps, like crabs. Like the other time we went for an environmental impact assessment and we set the pitfall trap, we caught crabs. That's the giant land crab. Giant land crab was caught. So crabs, millipedes, and centipedes can also be collected with the pitfall traps. The next method we want to discuss about that is used for collection of insects, particularly nocturnal specimens. Nocturnal insects are insects that are active at night. They usually hide during the day, or they are usually less active during the day, but at night they are very active. And you can also you should be aware that at night you usually see insects around your security bulbs, your security lights. You see them hovering around your security bulbs and even getting attached to your wall. And that's the principle that is used. The entomologists now realize that since these insects can be attracted to light, then we can devise a means of collecting them. Okay, so they now devised a means of collecting these insects and arachnids. Insects such as the beetles, the cockroaches, the crickets, the mayflies, the moths that are active at night, the stoneflies are collected through this method. And large numbers and a wide variety of species of insects can be collected through this method. Now, the method is simple. It consists of suspended white sheet or cloth and a light that is hung in front of the white cloth. Just as your security bulb is close to a wall that attracts insects, and sometimes you see the insects get themselves attached to your wall, that's the same principle that's used. A white cloth is hung. It could be even placed on your wall, or it could be tied to a tree or any other place. Or you can use any other thing to support it, to suspend it. And then a bulb is then hung in front of it. The bulb that's placed in front of it now attracts light. Specimens that settle on the sheet can be collected in killing bottles and with an aspirator. Now, this is a light trap I personally did. Here you see a light bulb, and you see a white sheet that's placed in front of the light bulb. Now, when this thing is put on at night, the insects are attracted to the light and they get attached to the white cloth or the white sheet. And these insects are easily being collected. You can collect them with the aspirator. You can collect them with even by hand, and you place them in the killing bottle. Light traps can be made also with battery-operated lantern. If you don't have this other set of these other devices that I've mentioned, the white cloth or white sheet and a bulb. You can use a battery-operated lantern with a large funnel, and you can use a wide mouth jar, a fruit juice can, or even a bucket. Now here is another light trap that I also personally produced. A light trap consisting of a light bulb and a white bucket. A light trap consisting of a light bulb and a white bucket. If you place this outside at night, you'll catch a lot of insects. The insects will be attracted to this bulb as it lights up, and then as they play around this light, they fall into the bucket. And then they can be easily collected with the aid of aspirators, with the aid of your brush, or by hand, and placed in the killing bottle, preserved and identified later. So having discussed that, we want to talk about another type of trap that is used to collect insects, and that is the use of the yellow pan trap. The use of the yellow pan traps. The yellow pan traps are also methods that are used to collect insects and arachnids, such as the aphids. Now, the yellow pan trap consists of a tray that is painted with yellow paint. Or if you have a yellow tray, you can also use it. And now this yellow tray is then filled with water. And it may also contain a little detergent to break the surface tension of the insects so that they cannot float in the water, they will just sink. So you use a yellow tray and then add water that has detergent. And it is as simple as that. Now this is a yellow pan trap that I also produced. Contains water, and you may have detergent in it, and then you leave it outside, or you can even keep it on top of a tree, hang it on top of a tree branch, secure it there to catch insects and arachnids. Having discussed that, we want to also discuss about the sticky traps. The sticky traps, just as the name implies, sticky traps. It's the use of adhesives. Adhesives, that's gum. We use gum to trap insects. Now, to do that, you can place the gum or the adhesive on a board, a tape, a pane of glass, a piece of wire net, or even a cylinder. That's painted yellow. And you coat it with a sticky substance, and you suspend it on the branch of a tree or other convenient object. Now, when you do that, the insects, when they land on the surface of those substances, they get stuck on the surface of these substances. And then the sticky material is later removed with suitable solvent, usually toluene, xylem, ethyl acetate, or a combination of these. And the insects are later washed with xylem. They are later washed with xylem. All right, so that's basically how to use the sticky trap. That's basically how to use the sticky trap. We still have more traps to discuss. One of the other traps is the paper band traps. The paper band traps, just as the name implies, paper band traps. Usually you can improvise by tearing the surface, those cartons that they use to package goods. You can tear off the surface. In between the cartons, you see corrugated papers. Now, these corrugated papers are wrapped around the surface of trees. You know, some insects and arachnids hide in the crevices of the backs of trees, or some of them migrate up the trunks of trees. So the paper-bound traps, the corrugated papers, are wrapped around the tree bark, or the stem of the tree twice. And this would now mimic the crevices that they usually hide in the surface of in the backs of the trees. Such insects will now decide to hide in the backs of such trees. And as they hide the backs of such such corrugated papers that are wrapped around the backs of trees, it is easy to collect them. You can go and harvest what you have caught the next day. When you go there, you see that insects and arachnids have hid themselves in between those papers. You notice that insects and arachnids have hid themselves in between those papers. So when you get there, you can now carefully remove each of those papers and place them in a plastic bag. You place them in a plastic bag containing a weight of cotton wool moistened with a few drops of chloroform or to anesthetize those insects and the arachnids that were hiding in those papers. And the paper strip is then examined over tray, usually a white tray. As you now examine what you have caught later over a white tray. The next type of trap, or the next type of traps we want to look at are the butterfly traps. Butterfly traps. The butterfly traps are used to capture fast-flying butterflies, such as nymphalids, caraxes, and many others that dwell in the canopies of trees and cannot be easily reached. These butterflies are attracted to a bait that are placed in the trap. Now, how is this trap being made? What does this trap contain? What is it made of? This trap, butterfly trap, consists of a vertical gauze cylinder that is closed at the top, and it also has a landing platform at the bottom. Now, a gap is left between the bottom, that is the landing platform, and the cylinder. And then a bait is then placed on the bowl, a bait that will attract the butterflies. And the bait, the trap, is then hung on the branch of a tree. The trap is then hung on the branch of a tree. Now, what happens when the trap is being hung on the branch of a tree? Now, what happens is that once this trap is hung there, you leave it there for usually for 1 day. Now, what happens is that the butterflies, the gullible butterflies, will then fly and then land on this platform. They will land on this platform and walk in to feed on the bait. After feeding on the bait, they will not be wise enough to walk out.
This is not talking now.
They will not be wise enough to walk out. Rather,
I'm talking about.
Rather, they fly upward. Instead of walking out, they fly upward. And
like if you are true,
as they fly upward, they get caught in the.
Isn't volume just the
they get caught in the net and they are being harvested. They eventually get caught in the net and they are being harvested. So far, we have discussed about the butterfly trap. We have discussed about the butterfly trap. We'll now discuss